Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now. And what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
It is a game day edition of Off the Hook Sports with me, Dave Hooker, and Amanda LaFrada. We want you to hit that like and subscribe button and be a part of the crew. Thank you very much to those that have us pushing 500 YouTube subscribers. Pretty phenomenal. Want to say a special thank you to Amanda, because without her, that wouldn't even be a fifth of the number, a tenth of the number, 1/20th of the number. I'm bad with fractions. Amanda, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, Dave. How are you?
That is game day lipstick if I've ever seen it. As bright, it's fiery. I like it. I like
it's
your
orange.
Is it orange? Okay.
It's orange.
I've never told you, but I am a little bit colorblind.
It's orange.
It's orange. So you are okay. I'm not gonna say all, as Amanda is very open and honest about the fact that she went to Alabama and still roots for Alabama, but she's wearing orange on a game day. I never thought I would see that.
I told my friend I'd do it. So.
All right. Well, thoughts.
Go Walt.
Go Walt. Go ahead and jump on board now on our chat board, and we have a monster show lined up today. John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel will join us. Also coming up, we'll visit with Jacob Warren and Tennessee's tight end, and Cooper Mays, Tennessee's center. All of that you can find at offthehooksports.com as we visit with those guys weekly, as well as Josh Ward of the Sports Animal, who will join us tomorrow. That's all on offthehooksports.com. You'll hear it during this show, but there's a lot of info on this show today that you want to be sure and tune in each and every day, because we're going to have a breakdown of Ball State here momentarily and predictions for the upcoming season. So, want to get to a prediction, the down and dirty at 30, and that's brought to you by our friends at Vassey's Lawn and Garden. Vassey Lawn and Garden is absolutely incredible when it comes to industrial mowers, when it comes to residential or commercial mowers. They are for you. That's Vassey Lawn and Garden. So, Amanda LaFrada, the down and dirty is Tennessee, roughly 30. Let you know more about gambling than me. So, which line would you go with, or would you shop them? If you were a bookmaker, where would you put the line? And let me tell you then what, if I think they'll cover or not. And then I want to see, obviously, if you think they'll cover or not.
Okay. So if I were a bookmaker, I would put the line at 36. And the only reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of people are real gung-ho about Tennessee, and rightly so. However, I feel like they would take the over, and I don't think Tennessee would cover.
Fair. I'm surprised you have it that high at 36, and we completely agree, because I would have had it at about 35.5. That was the number that I was going to throw out this morning. I think it settled at about, 32.5, 33.5?
Something around there.
This is a Tennessee team that wants to prove that all the preseason and offseason expectations is for real. I don't think they're going to overlook Ball State. Now, I do want to give you a quick preview of Ball State. Ball State's an interesting team before we get to our predictions for the season. And I'll go ahead and just tell you how many games Tennessee's going to win this year, and so will Amanda. And that you don't have to watch this season, but go ahead and enjoy it. You might as well. So this is a Ball State team that quite frankly, is just not very good. Amanda, I dove into that early this morning, and it's a team that returned a ton of starters to last year's team, but then they struggled and they weren't very good. So I just don't see any Georgia State type of scenario where, Georgia State has an awful lot of athletes. They can catch an Auburn or a Tennessee on a bad day. I don't see that at all. Now that's why they happen. Obviously, man. There's App State and Michigan, but I just don't. I don't see any scenario in which Ball State is even competitive in the middle of the third quarter. You?
No, there's no way. Tennessee has a lot more depth this season than they did last season. And I just don't see them hanging around with them very often. However, I think it will be a good look to see how well Tennessee's defense performs. That's where I'm a little iffy. I think their defense will be better. I don't know how much better they'll be. But considering Kentucky just destroyed, or Kentucky, sorry, Vanderbilt just destroyed Hawaii this past weekend. Now I'm a little, I don't know, but Hawaii's terrible, like terrible, like completely rebuilding an entire team and not rebuilding in the Saban capacity, not even rebuilding in the Tennessee capacity, rebuilding it like from the ground up. So,
yeah. And by the way, I failed to mention, my grandmother always said, I want to go to the 49th and 50th state. And she would always say Alaska and Hawaii.
Hawaii.
She was so cute. I
Yeah.
miss you, Granny. So as far as this Ball State team, Mike New enters his 7th season. So they were 7-1, a MAC championship, and the program's first ever bowl victory in 2020. So, and then you come back. Most of the key players, like I mentioned, are back for last season, and they go 6-7. So I don't know what to make, Amanda. I was purely in working in digital marketing at the time. I don't really know what to make of the 2020 season. In some ways, in sports, I kind of blank it out of my mind.
A lot of people do.
Can you give me some perspective? I mean, I'm not asking you specific perspective on Ball State, but how many records do you just throw out the window, good or bad, that you're like, I don't know. I mean, it was COVID.
I mean, see, I personally don't want to throw anything out on the 2020 season, considering Alabama won a national title that season. So,
and I think that speaks. I'm sorry. I think that speaks to Nick Saban's prowess to be able to navigate that. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm sure, but I don't think there's much more that could speak to Nick Saban's prowess. I think everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows how great he is. And that's just the end of that. But as far as COVID goes, that was a weird season. I mean, we had conferences trying not to play, like coming out of the gate going, we're not, Big Ten came out, we're not going to play this season. And then Notre Dame was like, whoa. We're not going to go along with that. And the ACC was like, we're not going to go along with that. And the SEC was like, finally, that's what we've been saying. So they actually got the games played. But I mean, the rest of it seemed pretty normal. I mean, you just take out what the average fan experience pretty much, and that was about it.
Well, I'll rely on you. I and sports were in a way different place back then. So, in terms of the game tonight, who are some key players that you want to see stand out? And actually, before I get to that, sorry for being frenetic, but let me go back to the defense, because you brought up a great point. The defense needs to be better. Would you take a C or C plus right now? You'd certainly take a B, but you'd probably take a C or C plus. So
against Ball State, you wouldn't.
No, I mean overall as a season, right?
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay, so my question for you is, how do we define a good outing by the defense? Okay, how do we define that? Is it just points? Is it more players playing? Because at the end of the day, you and I agree, this is probably going to be 36 plus points. How would you define a good day by Tennessee's defense?
So a good day to me by Tennessee's defense. I would like to see not as many points, obviously, low points, but I would also like to just watch and look at the coverage downfield. I would like to look at, the line. I would like to look at how they're physically stacking up against a team like Ball State, because that tells you a lot more than the stats will.
True.
I mean, especially when it's in like your fourth quarter and you have your third string in, which is hopefully where we're going to go with this. When that happens, the stats get skewed a lot more because you have a third string in against, a not so great team, but you wouldn't have your third string in there if you weren't playing such a not so great team. So I would like to see stats can tell you a lot, but they can also be skewed a lot as well. So I would like to see, just watch how the first team goes against this and see how the coverage is, see how the line is. Just watch. If they're completely dominant, then I would have no issues going forward, I don't believe.
Go ahead, and I want score predictions, and we're going to go to that throughout the day. Okay, so I want score predictions, and if you want to leave a message of how I can contact you, then the closest one wins a Hooker t-shirt. By the way, those are going to be on special for game day. You'll be able to pick those up. Go to offthehooksports.com. You'll see the link, and we're going to spread the word about that today. But the closest to the actual score will indeed win a Hooker t-shirt. I'll let you pick the color. How sweet is that? The Mattress Place, 22 years on Chapman Highway, Marine Corps veteran owned, A+ accredited, member of the Better Business Bureau, over 225 5-star reviews on Google. No gimmicks, just 30 to 70% off each and every day. So let me see your score predictions now on the chat, and we would love to do that. Get to today's tough question. Here is how I am going to define, Amanda, success, a good day by Tennessee's defense. It's not points. Well, kind of. It's not yards, but it is points during Hooker. Okay, so whenever Hooker is pulled, then the mindset of the coaches are, this game is in hand, all good here. Okay, so at that point, what is the score? How many points has Tennessee given up? How many yards have they given up? That's going to be your first team defense, because you're going to see similar substitutions on the defensive side of the ball because nobody wants to get hurt against Ball State. So that's how I'm going to define it. At the end of the day, if he's pulled halftime, mid-third quarter, whenever that is, if it is a game, into the fourth quarter, but that's how I want to define it at the end of the day. And that's how I'm going to look at it and determine success. John says 56-13 Tennessee wins. That would be absolutely monstrous. John also said, what do you think about Hendon breaking Peyton's TD record for the season? I think he stands a great chance. Yeah, I do too. I mean, let me look at that record, because it is pretty amazing to compare the two, because they're completely different, Amanda. But I mean, this is a totally different day and age of football. So
that's my problem with it, is that I'll give you an example of an issue that I have with the breaking of the records and whatever. Michael Phelps has the record for gold medals, especially in swimming. Now, if they are allowed to wear these like full bodysuit things that people want to wear, that makes them a lot faster. His record's getting broken, but it's not fair because he wasn't allowed to wear it. So that's kind of my issue when things change so much, and like the offenses change, and it's more of a fast paced, hurry up. Defense is less important. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's a lot less important than having a dynamic offense in this day and age of football. That's when I look at the record and I say, oh, like, if you break a record, are you really doing the same thing that Peyton Manning did? Or are you just in a more fortunate situation in which the offense is then, rules the roost here.
No, I completely agree. And, all the NFL records are going to be goofy too because they added a game. So, I mean, all of those, you just kind of have to take it with the grain of salt, so to speak, because could Hendon Hooker break Peyton Manning's touchdown single season record? Yes, he could, but the game has changed so much since 1997. There's really not much of a comparison between the two. So Tennessee tonight, 7:00 kick. And we've got the latest on offthehooksports.com. Certainly want you to check that out. And again, give us your score predictions, and we'll continue to give out some shirts. How about that? Don says 55-6 is his prediction. Gene, 48-10. I don't know about breaking the 50. I don't know about breaking 50.
It depends on how long. I don't think Heupel's going to keep Hooker in that long.
Agreed.
To break it. I just don't. I mean, I hope he doesn't, because I think that's not a great idea, to be honest. I just don't think he's going to keep him in that long to break, 50 points. You pull him at some point. Like, you're not Urban Meyer. You're not trying to run up the score to high heaven. Like, you're going to pull him at some point.
Boy, there's a lot of people that are glad they aren't Urban Meyer. There's a lot of people that are glad they're not married to Urban Meyer. Zool Beer Company is the official craft beer. Shots fired of Off the Hook Sports. Zool Beer Company, panoramic view of downtown Knoxville. You're going to love Zool Beer Company. So check them out. They're worldwide award-winning beer and a great panoramic view. Great place to hang out in downtown Knoxville. So, Amanda, as far as today's tough question, I have zero idea which way you'll go, but I would predict that it might have something to do with the Tennessee game. We shall see. Today's tough question is now.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my Soupe Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda Lafrada.
You drinking my sake, Kimosabi?
Oh my God.
All right, Amanda Lafrada, what do we have? Today's tough question, ma'am?
So it's going to be, how long do you think Hendon Hooker stays in today's game?
Saucy.
So it'll be, or I guess we can change it to, when do you think Hendon Hooker will be pulled out of today's game?
You realize you're giving Ball State bulletin board material. Joking.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's worried about that. Not lying. No one's upset. That's just a realistic question.
It is. All right. So how are you breaking it down, though? Because to me, the only two options are third and fourth quarter.
Not necessarily. To be honest, though, also with the Ball State thing, I'm sure their coaches are sitting there going, when are they going to pull Hendon Hooker? Let's go ahead and prepare for this.
That's terrible.
They are. They are. They're sitting over there going, okay, when is this going to happen?
Amanda's occasional glimpse of reality is part of the reason I'm so fond of her, because, yes, football coaches do think like that. They do look at the schedule just like us and say, that's going to be a tough one. That's a surefire win. That's a swing game. Football coaches do that. So do players. But people think, no, one game at a time, because that's what they're told in press conferences.
No one thinks that. if it was one game at a time, you wouldn't have issues like when you see like, oh, upset alert, Ohio State's struggling to get against Rutgers or whatever. You wouldn't have those issues when Ohio State's clearly a far superior team, but then they have whoever the next Penn State or Michigan State or Michigan the next game after that. You're not seeing them at their best because they're not focused on the game at hand. Let's be honest. It's not because Rutgers is a better team. It's because they're not focused on this game and they're looking ahead. Happens all the time.
Very true. Very true. So how are we breaking this up? Today's tough question.
So I think I will say, when do you think Hendon Hooker will be pulled?
Okay, when?
And
Okay.
it'll be mid-second quarter. I know that seems like a long shot, but mid-second, end of second, mid-third, end of third.
She's smarter than me. That's why she does this stuff. So go ahead and get on board with today's tough question. What would you say?
Mid-third.
I'm going to be more specific. I'm going to say after one drive in the second half.
Well, see, you're doing the Saban.
I'm doing the what?
Saban, that's what he does.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's because you want to go. It makes sense. I didn't. Maybe it's because I wrote about them a lot last year. I didn't really realize that, but yeah, you want to go through the rhythm of halftime, making adjustments. You want to get better for better teams down the line. So that makes a whole lot of sense. That
Well, do you want to put that in there instead?
no, I totally like the way you did it.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a better option than mid-second quarter.
I'm down with that. So let's throw it up there, see what people think. And again, give me your score predictions on the game and give me a way to contact you. If I can contact you via YouTube or reply, I will hook you up with the t-shirt. Whoever's closest after tonight's game will win a Hooker t-shirt. It is all the rave. Jimmy says they'll put Hendon once Tennessee is up by 6 touchdowns. Whew.
Might not be pulling Hendon then.
Hmm.
So they might not be pulling Hendon.
They pull Hendon Hooker out of the game once Tennessee is up by 6 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Okay. I wouldn't leave him in that long.
No, I wouldn't. But I'm saying, like, 6 touchdowns is 35 points. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's 42. 42.
Is it 42?
Why did we both struggle with the
I
math?
don't know. That's what I was confused about. I was like, wait, what?
I was telling Amanda before the show, I almost got ran off the road this morning. So maybe that's why. But I can't do math. But that's 42 points.
Yeah, 5 times 7 is 35. Dear God. Okay, every college professor I've had in calculus and everything is just probably, I don't know, crying somewhere in a corner. But yes, 42. If you don't pull him before you're up by 42.
I would too. I mean, my magic number probably, depending on where it is in the game, is probably like 30.
28 was mine.
28.
Yep.
We're agreeing way too much this morning. So let's go ahead and throw that up there. Did it just go up?
It's going up now.
Yeah, right. Sweet. I got an alert. We hit. John says, smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. John, tell a friend. Give me a score prediction. I'm hooking you up with a t-shirt. Whoever's closest wins the t-shirt tonight. So we're excited for game day. And
Are you giving your score prediction?
I am. I figured we'd wait for the end of the show. Would you like to do it now, or we can?
No, that's fine. I'm fine.
I will go ahead and start with my prediction because let's go ahead and knock that out. So I think tonight Tennessee wins 56-17. I think a lot of that is garbage points, but my real prediction would be along the lines of 35-6 at halftime. That's the prediction I would like to make because I think that it's going to be over by half. So then you have garbage points, and I don't know that we really learn a lot from that, Amanda, but I that's the prediction I want to make for the first 2.5 quarters or so. Does that make sense? But I'll stick at 56-16. How about that?
Okay, so mine. I'm going to say 48-17 is mine.
48-17. All right.
Yep.
All right. Again, we see you, Rod. hit that
That
like and
spread.
subscribe button.
It's 31 points. It's the spread.
I know. I should think like that. I don't. That's why you're here. Rod says 56-9 Vols. So I think that's very possible. So what you're thinking is a lot, Rod, like what I am thinking, and that is Tennessee is able to get some stops, as Amanda pointed out yesterday, in the red zone. I mean, that's ultimately going
That's
to
all
be.
you need. Just stop them in the red zone. The days of defenses not letting teams make it to, over the 50 is gone. I mean, it is. The 2011 Alabama LSU is gone.
Yep. Agreed. And I kind of missed that kind of ball, but that's fact. Yeah.
I was at that game, the game of the century or whatever. It was so incredibly boring.
That's fair. I do. I like defensive games, but when I say defensive games, I mean like 21-17.
Yeah, not 11-9 or whatever it was.
Couple minutes with John Adams, as John's appearance is brought to you by Big Orange Phillies right there on Maynardville Pike. It is in North Knoxville. You will absolutely love it. Great food, family environment. It's just phenomenal. So check it out. Big Orange Phillies, again, is right there and easy to find on Maynardville Pike. Just Google Big Orange Phillies and Biles Automotive Group on Callahan. Integrity means something. That's why Biles Automotive Group is where you should go for your car shopping. A bit with John Adams on Off the Hook Sports with Amanda LaFrada. I'm Dave Hooker. Well, John, it's like for Tennessee, I think Tennessee fans need to look at this as it's buying versus renting. So they were able to get a short-term kick out of Nico and being able to get him on campus, highest rated player we think ever at Tennessee, to commit, and he will sign and enroll in January. But the long term is, I believe, having covered recruiting for way too many years, that there are a lot of incoming prospects that will see how your guys are living. You know, are they driving a beat up Toyota, or are they driving a big new pickup truck from Vols Automotive Group? There is a big difference. Are they taking you out to eat at Crystal's, or are you going to Big Orange Phillies? That's where I am on this whole thing, John. And I think that when Tennessee has visitors and they see their players are living right, because Knoxville ain't Starkville. There's more money to be thrown around 85 scholarship players. I think that's where it really benefits Tennessee long term. I think some fans are looking at this with the short term lick. Let's get it. No, long term, I think it's where it helps Tennessee.
Well, I saw where Texas Tech is paying everybody $25,000 a year. Okay.
I would say they split it up. Okay.
Yeah. So, but the point being, they're not actually giving a recruit that money, but they're saying what we're going to do. So to me, that's a good move. So the recruit, you're right. When the recruit check comes to Tennessee or goes to Alabama or wherever, he should have a good idea of what prosperity looks like and how the guys that are already there, if they're saying, man, I need to take out a loan just to eat this summer. That's not what they want to hear. And yeah, they can look at the cars they're driving. And we know the kind of cars some of those guys were driving when there was no such thing as name, image, and likeness. It was all name, image, and under the table.
So be sure and check out John Adams on offthehooksports.com with Amanda LaFrada. I'm Dave Hooker. It is Chris Landry. Right after this, we'll be back. And how about exactly 2 minutes? Bam.
Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your fair.
This is Al's Nest Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
All right, now we're joined by Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com as he kind of snuck up on me. Wow, this commercials fly by fast. That means we're back into the content you want. Go ahead and get on board and give us a prediction for the game tonight. And the closest one to the score will win a Hooker t-shirt. I'll let you decide the size because you might not want your wife to wear it, but that's up to you. Chris Landry.
Wow.
What's that?
Well,
I mean, if it says Hooker across the front, it works for a year.
you want me to wear mine all the time.
But I know you're not a hooker.
The other people don't know that. It's like just advertising. People are like, how much? And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh. I'm like, oh. Ha, 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 ha.
Okay, before I've only lost it like in 25 years on the air like 3 times. So before I do it, I'm going to get serious. Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com joins us now. Chris, a happy game day from Knoxville. How are you?
Happy game day. I feel like I just walked into something like a hornet's nest.
I don't know. I don't know what in the world it is, but that's a game day edition of
game day. How about that? You don't have that very often. On Thursday. Appearance in a Thursday game, so yeah, it's a good little setup. I was thinking about it with for Tennessee, play on a Thursday and to get what is kind of like a mini open date, meaning you can get some work done, and then you get a little time to heal before you go into week 2. I think it's good for them. Obviously, if you're gonna have a Thursday game, I'd like to have it on the first week where you got plenty of time to prepare. You can start practice early. There's a lot of benefits. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to see. I don't know that it'll be an enjoyable game to watch. I don't know how many people are going to it could be compelled. And Tennessee fans will like it, though. I think it's going to be Ball State's going to have a hard time matching up with them.
Oh, man, wants to jump in here. But, Chris, let me start with, what do you think of Ball State? Can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch? Because I looked at them early this morning. I've looked at them throughout the past couple weeks. I don't see them hanging at all.
No, the issue is they really don't have much of a passing game. John Paddock is an athletic guy. He's got some experience. They've got good receivers, but the ability to throw the football is very limited. So that's going to be a problem in that defensively, that's their strength, but it's not going to be a strength against this Tennessee offense. So what I foresee happening is them having to play from behind. And then if you're Ball State, you got to abandon the run. And I just think that's an issue. Look, Johannes Taylor is really good. Jason Jackson's good MAC players. Carson Steele is a good MAC running back, but I just think this is going to be very, very difficult to keep it competitive. In essence, the way I like to describe it in certain vernaculars is, they can't really compete. Tennessee's going to have to allow them to compete. And we see that happen sometimes. We see teams play sloppy and turn it over, and it's first game, it's second, whatever it is. That could happen because you never know, but that's going to be all up to Tennessee. I think Tennessee will kind of make this game whatever they want to make out of it or whatever they're capable of making out of it.
So what do you expect to see from Hendon Hooker tonight, and how long do you think he'll actually stay in the game?
I expect him to move the offense very effectively. I expect him to have, I'm not worried about numbers. I think they'll be balanced. I think that they'll score a lot of points. I think he's going to play well. How long they play will depend on two things. One, do you have the game out of hand? I mean, this is one of the things where, what's a big enough lead to where you want to take the foot off the pedal or at least get some other people some work. Two is how much work do you want to give? Might say, well, Hendon Hooker's fine, but how much work you want to give some of the frontline guys, and do you want to have him in it? So I just think that I would say, if I was just going to gander, and this is trying to factor in when this game's going to be out of hand, I would say that he's going to start the second half and he's going to play some percentage of the third quarter, maybe half of it, maybe all of it. And again, I think the variable of how much is going to be what I just talked about. If he goes into the fourth quarter, is because it's a 17-point game and, you're not playing well and you're sloppy, you may want to work those guys a little more. So that's kind of how I see it. But I would guess it somewhere mid-third quarter, end of third quarter is where he might take up a seat.
How do you define success, Chris, from a coach's perspective with Tennessee's defense? How would you define a successful night?
It's how well you execute, how well, obviously, in the run game you fill your gaps, how well you tackle, how well you leverage the outside run, how well you play good technique and pass coverage, how well do you come off the ball in pass rush situations. It's all about what you're teaching, what you have taught, and how well they're executing. Folks, it's not about how many sacks, how many not. I mean, those things are going to be relative to who you're playing. You have to play to a standard of what you want your guys to play. I call this playing through an opponent, meaning you can't look at the results and say, boy, they're really good. Look at how many yards, and look at how many that's going. All of that tells you is the result of how you were against a given opponent on a given day. What you have to do is see how guys play, how hard they play, the effort, assignment, execution. That's what matters in any game. If you do that, the result will take care of itself. The result will be just that, the result of it. It's just like anything else. You just don't go out and have a good day. It's how you prepare yourself to have a good day. And that's to me where you can come out of a game with a win and think you got something going that you really don't. And sometimes you can play really well and lose a game, and you can feel a little bit more positive about where you're going, even though you feel completely negative about the loss. So in this type of game, I just think it's all about you, and it's all about trying to get better, and it's all about building towards week 2, because you got to build. You got to build some momentum, and you got to go through. What you don't want to have to do is next week's in practice to spend extra time in what we call correction periods.
Correct. That sounds like I spent most of high school going through correction periods.
Well, yeah, no. So what you do is, based on film, we struggled with A, B, and C. So we're going to spend extra time in individuals or team to work on that.
Okay.
The more you have to do that, the less you can advance. Think about it in school. Ever been? I can remember situations where the math teacher would teach something and nobody's getting it, so they have to go back and redo that chapter again, and so it maybe slows you down. Maybe you don't get as far into it. You can only go as far as your weakest link. So if you're struggling in some areas, it may not, maybe to the outside, appear that, oh, everything's great because we're 3-0, we're 4-0, whatever. But if you're not progressing, then where it's going to show up is against really good opponents. Whereas if you play well, you play sharp, and you build upon it, then you can start, hey, look, they're really doing a good job in all of these areas. Let's add a little bit more on the plate. So now you become a little bit more versatile. You're a little bit more schematically difficult to play against better opponents. Whereas it doesn't do you any good to add more things to the plate if they can't handle the things currently on the plate, is another way to describe it. So that's what I look for in games like this. Yeah, you can't look at it. And that applies to everybody that's playing this type of an opponent this week. What you're looking for as a coach.
So I know that you are much more in depth at football than a lot of people, considering your background, your experience, and all of that. Is there a point in the game where, especially a game like this, where you go, "Uh-oh, there's trouble in our defense," even if you can't see it, like even if normal people can't see it? Is there a point where you're watching it and going, "Uh-oh, that's a weak spot," or "Uh-oh, that's going to be a problem moving forward against big time opponents"?
Great question.
Yes, but Amanda and Dave, you kind of have a feel through practice if you're going to have a problem and you've adjusted. So let's just take it to the game, and you really are struggling. Let's just pick something up. They're really doing a poor job in coverage. Well, what is the problem? You already know physically what your guys can or can't do. If a guy is not a real good coverage guy, he doesn't have the athletic ability to do it, you don't really need this game to know it. You already know it. But here's where, to your point, if you make a lot of assignment errors, then you start thinking, okay, did we give them too much? Are they not picking it up well enough? Do we need to go simplify it? Which everybody says, oh, simplify it. There you go. The more you simplify, the easier it is for your guys to run, but the easier it is for an opponent to attack. So yeah, there are times where it's like, we can't get these guys to understand how they've got to stay in their technique a little longer on those deeper routes. And so what you do, even during the course of the game, you try to recognize it and you try to adjust it during the game. But then that's where you make a note of it. You show it in film sessions and you try to spend that extra time in the correction period to fix it. So, it's not a problem. So here's the issue. You can play really sloppy, really poor, but maybe there's different reasons for it. Maybe you didn't work on something enough because you didn't have time to do it, and therefore you understand it. Maybe guys are a little bit dead-legged, and you figure out we worked them a little too much, and it doesn't necessarily send a sound alarm that, oh, they were just really sloppy in this game. That's the way it's going to be all year long. You never stay the same. You either get better or you get worse. You may beat every opponent by the same margin. You're never the same, though, because what you're having to do and how you're having to do it's different. So I look at it as constantly teaching, constantly learning, constantly adjusting. But yes, you'll see things and say, "Well, we've got to get a little bit more out of this or that," and you go and say, "Let's go forward and try to put somebody." There are two ways you can get better during the football season. Okay, either get the guys that you're playing better, or you get other guys on your team in the position to play. You get better guys. And if they're better, they probably would have shown it to this point, but sometimes it evolves. I mean, I go back last year. Last year at this time, we were doing this show. It'd be, how good is Joe Milton going to be? What is that going to be like? How good is he? He's the guy. Because everybody was, in Knoxville and everybody, oh, this guy can throw it through a brick wall, and this is good. Perfect for Josh's system. Now, I hate saying this, but because it's after the fact, but at the time doing different radio and talking about it, I never believed in Joe Milton as a good fit because I don't think he gets the ball out time or rhythm or is accurate enough. Well, it showed it in week one, and now all of a sudden they became a different team. So if you looked at the early part of the schedule for Tennessee, you'd think, oh, Mike, this is a problem. I think quarterback's going to be an issue. Then it became a strength. So I think there's always hope.
Yep. Go ahead, man. My apologies.
No, you're fine. I was just clearing my throat.
Okay. Chris's appearance brought to you in part by Craft Treats. Want to remind you of Craft Treats. They have the full spectrum CBD treats for your pet, whether it's car ride anxiety or maybe it is storm anxiety like my dog gets. My dog also is getting a little up there like me and Chris. And so he's got some arthritis. He doesn't like jumping up on the bed very much anymore. So we're concerned. We give him Kraft treats, and he is taken care of and feels much better. So let me give some people a little bit of insight into Chris. And Chris also is a consultant for NFL teams and college programs. So you talk to an awful lot of coaches. What kind of vibe do you get? I'm not going to ask you specifically the vibe you get from Tennessee's coaches, because I wouldn't want you to share anything that you're not comfortable with, but you can. But what kind of vibe do you get from the SEC coaches you talk to about Tennessee?
I think people were impressed with last year. I think there's, it's depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to defensive coaches, they're like, oh, please, these guys are so tough to, to deal with. And, it changes everything we do. We don't see anything quite like it. So we don't practice against that a lot. So we've got to change our communication system because we can't substitute as freely. So they are a little bit more of God, those guys, offensive coaches. No one. I would say no one looks at them and at this point fears what they do defensively. They feel like they can. I'll say this as a whole, and this was last year, and this year's a different year, and the film will tell you. Is most people felt like we can run on Tennessee, and and that's the game plan. We'll just run it offensively, and we'll keep their offense off the field as much as possible. And then, there's some teams, the better teams, and we saw that Tennessee really doesn't match up with the elite teams in the league, but the rest of them, I think, match up very well. So it really does depend upon who you are, meaning where they are and who they play against. So if you look at the conference teams, you pretty much can figure out the ones that are kind of at the level of Tennessee, worry about them a little bit more. When they're the elite teams, feel like they're in pretty good shape. But I think overall what they're looking at is kind of where they're going to go, how much of a step up they're going to take, what they're going to look like, any adjustments. I think there was a little bit more of a anticipation of, this year they have a little bit more of a feel. They've seen what the offense does and what the defense does as well. So they have a better feel for them now, as you always do when you've got a substantive amount of film to break down. It's when you a little bit familiar with what some of those guys have done, but it's the first year coach that becomes a little bit more challenging to figure out.
Fair point. All right, Chris, if you can, 30 seconds or less, how do you see this game playing out tonight?
I think it'll be maybe a little bit of a feeling out in the first quarter, barring any turnover, sloppy play by Tennessee. And I think it'll be a gradual build. I think they'll probably score some points in the passing game pretty early. I think they'll be able to run it. I'm curious to see how they stay committed to the run. Again, level of competition is not going to be the same throughout the season, but I think that's going to be a part of it. I think they'll have an explosive spurt pretty early. And then, I think it'll be more control in the second half. I don't know. I think getting to 50 is very doable here. I don't know that I see Ball State getting more than 14, 17-ish points. And maybe I'm curious to see if any of those are meaningful points early, to keep the game close. I don't think so, but that's what's great about football, isn't it? You sit there and watch it, you never quite know. But I don't see this being as big of a threat. I don't see anything like a Georgia Southern or anything that's a type of matchup that would cause Tennessee problems. And of course, that's a different Tennessee regime and coaching staff.
Can I ask one question? I'm sorry, before we go. What is it? Because I know a lot of people probably don't get it, and I certainly haven't done my homework enough to know. What's the difference between this team, Ball State, and the team like Georgia Southern, and why should Tennessee fans not fear that outcome?
Well, I think the difference is, kind of the staff. The staff was a lot different in Tennessee. So they were really not communicating well, and defensively they were a mess in terms of assignment. And I think that their ability at Georgia State to run an offense that had a little bit more versatility, they were just better offensively than this Ball State team appears to be to me, with some of their missing pieces. Now, I will say this: if quarterback plays well, they've got a couple of receivers that can score some points, and I think I have to relate it to what they are in the MAC, and they can be kind of a mid-level team in the MAC this year, maybe slightly above, but it's all going to depend on the quarterback position. That's the biggest concern I'd have for them. And so the difference is I don't think there's going to be a lot of plays that Ball State can make on offense. So I don't want people, because I think this game is going to go where Tennessee's defense is going to not give up a lot of points. I would not, get overly excited and go dance and say, the defense at Tennessee's back. This is not a litmus test, that they're going to face through the course of the SEC. I think people know that. But that's the difference. Whereas I think they were a hot mess against Georgia State. Just as a program was going on, they were just completely discombobulated, and it wasn't really that team was great. It's just Tennessee they were miscommunication, crossing gaps. They were leaving gaps uncovered because assignment-wise, there were two guys in one gap, and all of a sudden you got. Heck, an old man like me with a broken foot could have gotten 8 yards on some of those carries. It was just a disaster.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Chris, appreciate the time.
Appreciate it. Hey, quick, I don't know if you guys talked about it, but I am hearing Friday, the vote, it looks like there's a probability now that they're going to vote the conference commissioners on a playoff expansion. And it looks like it's going to be a go. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But they're at 2026 with the possibility as early as 2024. So let's pay attention to that Friday and see if that comes to fruition, or if they table it, punt it for another meeting down the road. Those guys, they like to have another meeting at a resort. So maybe they will table the vote until another resort meeting. But I'm hearing it now that it's gone further and further now. The folks that were against it in the remember this, the alliance that they made, which was really not really an alliance. So I'm hearing that. Yeah. So that's big picture. I know let's get to the football season, but that's pretty big news. If that comes down the pike, if it comes as early as 2026, even, we can start to see it. But anyway, always great to be with you guys.
Yeah, dropping bombs on us. What changed things recently where you think this will actually happen?
Remember, they trotted out the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the ACC alliance. Let's hold arms and kumbaya. Well, that had lasted how long did that alliance work? Pac-12, when you got rated, you two schools from LA got rated. It's basically all they were doing in the alliance is to say, we're gonna try to stand up to the big bad bullies of the SEC, and we're gonna have this alliance and make a press conference and say, well, that was just all. And remember, it was an 8-3 vote to go to a 12-team playoff before the Texas-Oklahoma announcement. So nothing, which changed is really nothing other than the circumstances. People need to kind of see it. The other thing, I'm sure you've probably heard, the Big 12 wants to open up their TV negotiations early.
Yeah,
and if they do that, they're willing to possibly, in those negotiations, because they want to get ahead of the Pac-12 on the TV deal, and that could lead to Oklahoma and Texas coming in earlier. So there's some potential big picture news that we prefer that if it happened in July, but since it's happened, they drop it on us in September. It happens when it happens. So let's follow that and see. But
why would they do that? Why would they drop it like now?
Why would you talking the Big 12 thing, or are you talking the playoff thing? Oh, you mean what? No, it's not really dropping it. I just think that what's happened is this is the first time they've had a chance to get together post USC UCLA, movement. That's what it is. I don't think they're trying to drop it now. I think the circumstances lead to it to where, okay, let's get it done. I'm very curious to see what Big Ten's stance is, because they were against any automatic bids at all, whereas others want. So who knows? I will believe it that they voted on it when I hear it, because those guys tend to, and ladies, there's a couple of the commissioners that will not necessarily agree on everything, but it's sounding like from the inside that they talk and they know kind of how they're going to vote. It sounds like it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, you got some of Amanda's journalistic insight there. She's thinking, why would you drop it on a Friday afternoon? That's usually a news dump for bad news. It happened with us last week.
Well,
McCoy.
No, that's right.
But that is that.
They're not dropping. What
Right.
they're doing is meeting
Right.
Friday. I'm understanding, and I don't know what it takes in their meet, what it takes to get a vote, but I'm hearing that they could vote Friday. So I think that's just the general timing. I don't think they really like it being that way. I think they don't like this stuff to, go a different route. But I think this is just kind of the way it is. But we'll see. It'll add a little spice to where when we go through the season, we can focus on the football. But then we know that, playoffs could be coming, and these two teams could be, those things are going to be interesting to follow.
Everybody's back from vacation, I guess.
Beautiful. Chris, I love it, man. Great stuff. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Y'all take care. Have a good one.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Who needs Woj bombs when you got land bombs? What? I need to work on that.
I don't know what that meant.
Woj bomb is that Wojciechowski, however you pronounce his name, works for ESPN. He's the one who's really tied into the NBA. So when he drops something, he breaks news like almost every other day. They call it Woj.
Is that bigger guy?
No, I like him, Brian Windhorst.
I do like him, yeah.
He made the very smart idea of getting very close to LeBron when he was 17 years old, and then moved to Miami, covered him there, but that relationship has paid dividends. So, but anyway, we got land bombs.
I couldn't stand it that long.
Being around LeBron or being in Miami or both?
Being around LeBron for that long.
Yeah, I think
I would rather not.
I think he's probably slowly gotten pushed out of the circle. Honeybee's coffee. Amanda's probably drinking it right now, and it's phenomenal. Great job, Norris, there at Honeybee's Coffee. It's the bees, not the bucks. Why is the coffee so great, Amanda?
I honestly don't know. I know that a lot of people say the Bucks has like a crack in their coffee because everybody's so addicted to it. Like they have to be doing something like that. I don't know. I don't think Honeybee's doing that, but the coffee is that good. Like it's just that good. And I know the top 5% of beans in the world and, veteran owned and all that we always preach, but it's just good. Like it's just good coffee. I don't know.
It really is. I've said it before. I do not drink coffee. I had 3 cups and Norris was looking at me like, what? Are you like a huge coffee drinker? I said, no, it's like the first cup of coffee I've had in probably a year. When I first started working out and I needed the caffeine, probably a year and a half. When we met with Norris, it had been a year since I had a cup of coffee, and I had 3 cups on the spot. And now I'm a huge Monster fan. How about Cooper Mays talking about going against Ball State from an offensive standpoint? How will Ball State defend Tennessee? There's a bit of an unknown there. Tennessee's center visited with us on the Vol Report, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, where integrity matters. That's why they've been in business for over 50 years. Tennessee center Cooper Mays on what we'll see tonight against Ball State.
It's hard to prepare not knowing like a certainty of whether you're going to play or where you're going to, it's hard. Just not having solid ground on anything makes everything have a little bit more anxiety about it. I remember Cade didn't get eligible until like right up at the beginning of the season. So I do remember that being kind of like a little bit of something that would kind of torment him a little bit. So yeah, it stinks, but it's how things go with NCAA. I'm sure everything's a different case, and they've got to look at everything thoroughly and everything. So I'm sure it's, not just as easy as signing something off or whatever.
Yeah, and I apologize. He was talking about Bru McCoy being eligible. So he went through that with his brother. How big of a factor will Bru McCoy be tonight, Amanda?
I mean, for all the hype that this is, this situation, and I know we've talked about it and it's more, I think, along the fact of, is a university going too far and trying to punish a former player or a player or, what have you. That's been the fascination. But also because of this story, everyone's going to have eyes on Bru McCoy tonight. They are. And I hope for his sake that he is just phenomenal and the talk of the town, just because of, and it's not necessarily his fault about everyone being so fascinated by the story. It's more of, I believe, USC's fault. However, a lot of eyes are going to be on him, especially it's like the first, and I don't count Vandy Hawaii, and I will never count it. That is not the first SEC game of 2022. I refuse to believe that.
Okay.
That is a Hawaiian vacation, and someone at 10:30 at night decided to pass a football around. Anywho, continuing on with that, all eyes are going to be on this game tonight. It's the kickoff to the SEC season. Bru McCoy, God bless you, man.
Does he catch a touchdown pass tonight?
If he doesn't, I mean, I would be very, very surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he will too.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a bet on that. I would take it though.
So well, again, you're the person who's gambling better than me. So prop bet, would you put it at half? So it's 1 or 0, or would you put it at 1.5 more than 1? I'm not going to let you take 1. 1's kind of the easy way out.
No, I'd take it. I'd take over under half. I would take the over on that. I'd take the half. I wouldn't take I would not, if it was 1.5, I wouldn't touch it.
Totally agree. Rod, thank you. Chris is awesome. He says, great chat with Mr. Landry. He'll be a regular guest with us as we get into a regular game week. Thursday's a little bit different, but Chris will join us each and every week on Monday and Thursday. Excited to tell you that also we'll be visiting with Jonathan Crompton, former Tennessee quarterback, every Friday. Tomorrow on the program, Josh Ward from the Sports Animal will join us. John Adams, a frequent guest. So we're excited to be joined by those guys. So coming up, it'll be Jacob Warren, and we're going to get to some message board bingo here momentarily. So we are back in just 2 minutes.
Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn & Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn & Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Oh, message board bingo coming
These
up.
are good.
And
These are so good.
Amanda's I can already tell she's throwing heat. Coach Lance is going to join us. Do want to get quick comment from our own Jacob Warren, Tennessee's own Jacob Warren, but he is a part of Off the Hook Sports. You can check him out on the Ball Report. Starting fast. It's kind of a stupid thing for a lot of people to say because nobody says I want to go out there and start slow. But
Some people do.
I guess, you want to start slow?
In relationships, you do.
We're not talking about relations. Yes.
There's sometimes you want to start slow.
Okay. All righty. Let's get.
Goes against the hooker saying, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's a churn and burn. But let's go to Jacob Warren, Tennessee's tight end, talks about getting off to a fast start.
Like that's what we do, right? We're trying to score as many points as possible. I know you don't literally mean play fast, but you mean just come out, scoring drives, first 3 drives, we're trying to score touchdowns, right? I know that's what you mean, but man, like that's how we play and that's kind of our identity. So I think going into week 1, like that's going to be the biggest thing is to, come out hot, show everyone what we've been working on, all the timing being perfect and running backs hitting holes and just picking up a lot of yards, making it really exciting for the first game of the season and kind of show everyone what it's going to be like as we get rolling throughout the whole season.
I was talking to Cooper about this too. So you go into this game and there's no surprise factor because last year maybe you surprised some people with the tempo, but now Ball State knows that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about it'll be interesting to see in the beginning of the game how they defend that. Did they drop somebody else into coverage, or did they play it more straight up? So, how much of the first couple of series are fact-finding missions for you guys as much as anything?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we're as we install plays and we go through it in practice and talk about it and watch film and everything like that. What you're watching from last year could be completely different from what it is that we're actually gonna get, right? Say we prepare for 4 down, they play over to the field every single snap, whatever, like this is how they played last year. And then now they come out on Thursday and they're in, 3 down, drop 8, everybody flying out of the box. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And we've been preparing for 4 down, field over, you know what I mean? So
So we'll see what Amanda's looking up close. Let's bring in Coach Lance.
Looking at his shoe collection back there.
Yeah, what's going on with that? This Jacob Warren brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. What's going on with your shoe collection back there?
No, not his. Huh? Jacob Warren's.
Oh, Jacob and Hendon are big shoe guys.
No, I know that. I wrote an article on that, but I was just noticing in the video, like I took a screenshot and zoomed in because like he has his shoes just like.
Yeah, that's a little bit better than Arian Foster having to beg for tacos. Coach Lance is 150-0. He joins us now. Yeah, I'm sure. Wow. Pretentiousness at its best. Let's go pterodactyl in an interview. Coach Lance, how are you?
Dave, I'm doing great. It is good to see you, Dave Hooker, Amanda LaGuardia. I love being on your old show. It's so fun. It's game day, guys.
I'm just curious what type of gum you chew.
This is Eclipse.
Eclipse. Okay, cool.
Eclipse.
Brought to you by Coach Lance. All right, Coach Lance, we're going to play message board bingo.
I'm ready.
But first, I do want to ask you your thoughts on the game tonight. We'll get your official score prediction. Amanda is I have the score predictions here. Amanda and I both think it's going to be pretty one-sided. Did you say you're at 56-6? I said 56-16. Amanda, you said?
I believe I said 40. Was it 48-17 is what I said?
48-17. All right.
Yeah.
Coach Lance, you want to go ahead and give your score prediction, or do you want to get to message board bingo?
Let's give it.
All right.
51-10.
51-10. Okay, so
51-10. Yeah, we're going to score some points. We all know that. And I think Ball State, they'll get themselves a touchdown and a field goal. That's about it.
So remind us where you coach again. And in that, Coach Lance, can you tell us the most points you've ever scored against an opponent?
Yeah. Chattahoochee Middle School in Chattahoochee, Tennessee, Fighting Beavers. And by the way, is the Landry guy you had on, he's pretty smart. I'm looking for an assistant coach. You think he might be available?
I'll see what he can do, but I don't want to lose him with Off the Hook Sports. But I think that there's a possibility there.
All right, the most points we ever scored in the game was 100.
Even?
Right on the dot. Yeah, it's rarely done. Probably
Some
never.
safeties in there.
There's a couple safeties.
There's 2 safeties.
There we go.
2 safeties, no field goals, lots of touchdowns.
Lots of touchdowns. Did you want to score an even 100? I mean, could you have scored 101? Did you go for too late to go from 98 to 100? Because an even 100 sounds even cooler than 101 or 99. Ask Wilt Chamberlain.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we stopped at 100. It was actually the third quarter, but we stopped at 100 because we wanted to keep that 100 perfect, the perfect score. So I put all my 6th graders in, and they played the rest of the game, and we didn't score anything because they're no good. But
yeah, well, they're like 80 pounds.
They're very small people. I played mainly 8th graders.
Yeah. So those 6th graders, they're basically garbage players, is what you're telling me.
Yeah,
right?
no, they're not ready. They're just children. But the 8th graders, I got some 8th graders with mustaches.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. Are they on testosterone?
Are they on testosterone?
Yes.
Supplements?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Majorly. Yeah, we give them a powder shake with testosterone every practice before they go out.
No birth certificates, right?
We've not required those yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up.
So theoretically, you could have a player on your team that is, say, 22, and you wouldn't be 100% sure.
Dave, and nothing is impossible, but
equality for all, Dave.
I'm going to say that they're all middle schoolers. Whether they've been through middle school multiple times or not, I cannot confirm nor deny if this is their 4th year in 8th grade, but they are in 8th grade.
Oh, okay. My mom didn't coach. My mom taught a 13-year-old in 5th grade. Pretty.
Really?
Good God.
Yeah, he tried.
I was 13 as a freshman.
Yeah, he tried hard. So he tried very hard. All right. So let's go ahead and get to message board bingo and not make fun of people 40 years ago.
Was he on your team, Coach Lance?
Delford?
The 13-year-old?
No, he might have been. What was his name? Harold? I had a kid named Harold that was 13 in 6th grade.
Don't trust anybody named Harold, Coach Lance.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to message board bingo. Message board bingo is now.
All right. We should bring out a live panther tomorrow. Why not? Keep him on a leash like the Georgia Bulldog. Would be great fun in advertising. They could get a former player to walk him out.
I think Coach Lance wants to go first. He's got his hand raised.
I'm waiting on Amanda to call on me.
Oh, yes, Coach Lance.
Pitt.
Dave?
I'll go Pitt, too.
It is Pitt.
What? Can you just pick the same answer as me?
Oh, okay.
That's true. So you automatically lose, Dave.
Okay.
Coach Lance 1, Dave 0.
By default of letting me go first, you lose the first round.
Yeah. All right, so this one's a little bit harder. I am pretty confident we beat Clemson by 2+ touchdowns. I think they proved last year that their reign is over. We should have won ONE that game. EZ win here week 1 LFG.
Well, now I got to think about who Clemson plays in week 1. I can't even remember who it is because I feel like they just gave it away there.
Yeah, they did.
And I think
Googling.
I'm not Googling it.
No Googling, but you get to go first again.
No, Dave, it's your turn to go first.
good. It's Dave's turn.
It's Dave's turn to go first.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go to Georgia Tech.
Dave cheated.
I did not
and
cheat.
Googled.
I
He
did not
Googled
cheat.
Clemson's
I
schedule.
know they play Georgia Tech.
2-0, Coach Lance. Cheaters never win.
Still undefeated. It feels so good. Okay.
I know. Cheaters never win. Cheaters never win.
All right, fire away.
All right. Incredibly short-sighted, and so this team. It looks like I came up with that crap with Lincoln Logs, and I made fun of someone else for their half-butted stadium renovation.
Butted.
Yeah.
But's a bad word.
New TV rights still announced for $1 gazillion, and this team follows that up with this cartoon carnival. I'm now beyond baffled, but 'tis the way of the smartest guys in the room. The opportunity to make something special, and we hit a dribbler that doesn't get past the ladies' tee box.
I'm stumped completely.
I have no idea.
I'm going to go with Auburn because Amanda loves to make fun of Auburn. So I'll just go with the default as Auburn.
Okay, first of all, Auburn didn't sign a $1 gazillion TV deal. Who just signed a big TV deal? That would be the Big Ten. So it's obviously someone in the Big Ten. Who in the Big Ten is renovating their stadium?
I don't know. I'll go Michigan.
Oh.
No, Coach Lance?
Oh, he's first.
Wait, Dave guessed Michigan, so I'm just going to give you a hint, Coach Lance, after this.
Okay.
Starts with a P, but it's not Penn State.
We've already gone Pitt.
Pitt's not in the Big Ten.
Right. I was just thinking P teams.
Not Penn State, but starts with a P.
In the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten.
Yeah,
So
she's telling you right now, Coach Lance, you have to go P.
It's
Okay. I'll be right back.
There's
I can be the straight guy to Coach Lance all day.
Is it Princeton? That's not Big
No,
Ten.
that's not Big Ten. Hold on, Coach Lance. Lots of gum there going.
Lots of gum. There you go. Fine.
Sounds something like Bird View.
Good gracious.
I don't know.
Okay, who is it?
The Purdue Boilermakers.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah. I forgot about them. I forgot they were even a team. That's darn it.
3-0, Coach Lance.
Even Drew Brees forgot Purdue was a team, and he went there.
No.
That's sad.
Purdue's
Okay.
that team we beat in the bowl game last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That
but that
would
was after
be-
Drew Brees.
All right. So this one is called Coach Prime Time. And in parentheses, Deion Sanders. One name that hasn't been mentioned yet is Deion Sanders. Rule and O'Brien have more experience, but they don't have the recruiting appeal like Prime. Surround Deion with great assistance and let Deion hit the recruiting trail. As a fan base, we need to let our voices known that we want Deion. It's time to be bold and bring the swagger that's been lacking at the program. P.S. I'll settle for Urban Meyer as he is a true winner.
I have my hand up.
How do you settle for Urban Meyer? Okay.
All right, Dave,
Well,
go ahead.
His wife did.
That's
That's pretty good, huh?
good.
So I will say that it is Auburn because that would, as crazy as I would have thought I was 5 years ago, that would not be the worst move in the world.
Okay, that should tell you right there. It's not Auburn. Because
Okay.
they're not bright. It is a Big Ten team, and it's, some people call it icy. Some people, when it's winter time and there's stuff on the ground, that's their coach right now.
Snow.
Not snow. Their coach is not snow.
Sleet.
It's like ice.
Ice.
Also something you put on cookies.
Icing.
Yes, but another thing. It's called something else.
Which one is it? Come on, Coach Lance. Give it to
It's
us.
a Big Ten team. Recently played. Got a little embarrassed.
Oh,
Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska.
Yay! Coach Lance 5-0.
Man, it feels good.
I think that's 151-0 for the record.
Mhm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. If
Great
anybody's
stuff.
keeping up with it. Where were you going with the icing? The Cornhuskers?
Frost.
Frost. Oh, Scott Frost. Oh, Frost.
Frost.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you for calling that because I was confused too.
Frosting.
All right.
First, I tried to say the ice on the ground. It's not snow.
You gave us
Frost.
all the hints we could possibly need.
I
Amanda.
tried really hard on that. And if Dave hadn't raised his hand in the middle of the question to guess Auburn, then he might have gotten a hint too, but no.
That was a good guess, Dave.
Thank you. I do what I can, Coach Lance. I appreciate that.
That's too smart for Auburn. Let's be
I
honest.
recently saw a video about some guy made a really funny video about Auburn and their mascot, Tigers versus the War Eagles.
Yeah, that was very good. So that was very, very good. How do we? And I laughed out loud. How do we follow your work? Speaking of Coach Lance,
well, you can follow me at Coach Lance UT. That's my Twitter handle. As you know, and then I got a twin brother, Josh Mancuso. We have different last names. I don't know why my parents are weird, but he's also on there. You can follow him too.
Did your twin brother take his wife's name? Maybe.
That's what it is. Yep. What it is. Yep.
Fair enough. That does that. I guess how often does that happen? Does that happen a lot? Does anybody know?
Apparently, a lot more now.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Coach Lance UT and CoachLanceDecker.com as well. If you would like to get one of these beautiful shirts right here.
I got my tank top and my sticker.
I got mine too, but I want to say double thank you for the shirt and the fact that you sent a large. I haven't been a large since I was like 13. I put it on this morning actually, and it looked like a medium. I was flexing in the mirror. That's what I'm doing at 5 o'clock in the morning for people that want to know.
Right.
I put on my Coach Lance shirt and I check out my traps. So that's what I do. That's what I was doing at 5 o'clock in the morning. So
we have the same morning routine. I do the same thing.
so
put on my Coach Lance shirt.
Amanda's a big trap gal. So all right.
Love the traps. Yeah.
Coach Lance, you're doing a great job.
Jiggle.
Keep it up, buddy. I appreciate it.
See you guys. It's been real.
Bye.
You know it, Coach Lance. You're thinking of triceps and they don't jiggle. You're a lean, mean fighting machine.
I'm not anything of the sort.
The traps are up here. See?
Oh yeah, no, mine are good because I'm constantly doing this and I hold my tension in my shoulders. So since I'm stressed all the time, mine are like solid.
Yep. Totally understand that. I overdo shrugs, which is probably the reason that I have traps and probably the reason that my shoulder bothers me. Pedigo Chattanooga is a locally owned store where you'll be treated like family as the region's foremost electric bike experts. They put their hearts into helping you find the perfect electric bike and get the most out of it for many, many years to come. That is Pedigo Chattanooga. So, Amanda LaFrada, we get to this day in sports history, and this day in sports history is right about now as it is game day.
This day in sports history, putting things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFrada.
New kids on the block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
All right, Amanda LaFrada, what do we got?
All right, so this day in sports history, we have 1931. Future baseball, 31.
1931.
Future Baseball Hall of Fame first baseman Lou Gehrig hits his third grand slam in 4 days and 6th homer in consecutive games in New York Yankees 5-1 win versus Boston Red Sox.
Good gracious, he hit 3 grand slams in 4 days. Seriously?
Yeah, apparently.
Good. I mean, that's Wow. We live in a football world, but even today, don't you think that's probably the lead story on SportsCenter? Or
I mean, yeah, it would have to be.
That's just, I've never heard of any. I had no idea that anybody had done anything. I would have guessed that nobody's done 2 in a week.
Yeah, I don't see that.
That's pretty golly. All right. Anything else on this day in sports history?
So in 2006, Roger Goodell begins his tenure as NFL commissioner. What a sad day in sports.
Hey, okay, I was going to ask you A, B, C, D, F. How would you rate his tenure as commissioner?
F.
Okay, fair enough.
Terrible. It's terrible.
I'm going to go with the default that I'll go with every commissioner. Now, I know Paul Tagliabue did a lot of things way back in the day as far as the television deal. I'm aware of all of that. So he's kind of the difference. But every other NFL commissioner is just a C, in my opinion. Because the reason I say that is because they're employees by the individual owners. So they're all average. They do what the owners tell them to do. They're not paid to have a spine. So they are what they are. It's a collective owner decision. But him in particular, we have forgotten a lot about the Ray Rice incident, how that was handled. It was handled very poorly. So by default, I go C. By that, and what the other things that we don't know about, Amanda, I go F.
See, my thing with the Ray Rice thing, that made me so mad because the only reason you went so hard on Ray Rice, you saw the video. You saw it. Like, you saw it before it came out. You know it was.
Yeah.
They did. They saw it. And the only reason they went so hard is A, it came out, and B, because he was 30 and past his prime. Those are the 2 reasons that they did what they did to Ray Rice. That was it.
Yep.
That was it. No criminal charges against Ray Rice. His victim / wife / whatever she was at the time did not press charges. But there's video evidence, and they did a lifetime ban because the only reason that he got a lifetime ban is because he was 30 years old and he was past his prime.
No, I don't doubt that. His yardage, I think it also gone down like 8 per carry, like 0.8 of a yard from the previous year. So no, I don't doubt that at all. All right, so how do you see the game playing out tonight, Amanda? Just give me kind of a thumbnail sketch of what you see happening when Tennessee plays Ball State.
All right, so this is the last thing I'm going to say about Ray Rice. The Tyreek Hill, if you really cared about humanity and about victims and all that stuff, Tyreek Hill would have been out of the league a long time ago. But continuing on. So tonight's game, are we doing – oh, no, never mind. We just did that. So tonight's game, what do I see happening? I see Tennessee coming out, scoring a lot, scoring fast. I see them taking Hendon Hooker out probably when you suggested after the first drive of the third quarter. Then I see them taking out some of their big players, Trayvon Flowers, Jeremy Banks on the defensive side of the ball, removing them from the game. And then I see Ball State coming out and maybe scoring a couple of touchdowns and then kicking a field goal and then calling it a day.
You sparked something in my mind that led to my prediction as well. I went heavy on field goals. I think Tennessee athletically will be better than Ball State. Well, they are, but that will show up in the red zone, and I think they will be able to hold. I don't think they're going to give up a bunch of yards either to Ball State, but I think there'll be a couple of drives that Ball State gets something going and it ends in a field goal instead of a touchdown, which is why I settled on a field goal heavy score. I think that Hendon Hooker tonight throws 3 touchdowns. I think that he is pulled in the first drive, after the first drive of the second half. I think Jabari Small has a big game in particular. I'll go ahead and say that he'll have, in limited duty, he'll have 100 all-purpose yards. I have very little question about that. But again, limited duty. We're assuming he's pulled by the third quarter, so that's still impressive. And then the last thing I would add is I think I think that Bru McCoy will catch a touchdown pass. I'm not saying they're going to force it to him, but I think he's been involved enough, and they believed all along that he was going to be available. So I don't think there's any holdover for just being eligible the week before. Now, had that come 2 days ago, maybe it's a little bit different, but I think he's a big part of the game plan because it came 1 week ago. So we'll see you tomorrow. How about 8:30? We want to be a part of your day, so please hit that like and subscribe button. That subscribe button, we appreciate you so much. Jason says final score 63-10.
Ooh, Jason.
Yeah, and Trevor says I'll give him a Biden F. I think I know where your politics are. By the way, isn't there a presidential speech scheduled for 7? He needs to move that. There's
Are there really? Is there really a presidential speech?
yes, we're
Is
not.
that a speech?
I don't know what it is. I know.
I
that,
just want to know. I want to know what drugs he's taking.
I don't. She